I've been looking forward to this one since I started reading these visions. Well, I'm reading from the Visions of Anne Catherine Emmerich. This is officially the starting of the whole story. So, let's go. The Creation, Fall of the Angels. I saw, spreading out before me, a boundless, resplendent space, above which floated a globe of light shining like a sun. I felt that it was the unity of the Trinity. In my own mind, I named it the One Voice, and I watched it producing its effects. Below the globe of light arose concentric circles of radiant choirs of spirits, wondrously bright and strong and beautiful. This second world of light floated like a sun under that higher sun. These choirs came forth from the higher sun as if born of love. Suddenly, I saw some of them pause, wrapped in the contemplation of their own beauty. They took complacency in self. They sought the highest beauty in self. They thought but of self. They existed but in self. At first, all were lost in contemplation out of self, but soon some of them rested in self. At that instant, I saw this part of the glittering choirs hurled down, their beauty sunk in darkness, while the others, thronging quickly together, filled up the vacant spaces, and now the good angels occupied a smaller space. I did not see them leaving their places to pursue and combat the fallen choirs. The bad angels rested in self and fell away, while those that did not follow their example thronged into their vacant places. All this was instantaneous. Then rising from below, I saw a dark disk, the future abode of the fallen spirits. I saw that they took possession of it against their will. It was much smaller than the sphere from which they had fallen, and they appeared to me to be closely crowded together. I saw the fall of the angels in my childhood, and ever after, day and night, I dreaded their influence. I thought they must do great harm on the earth, for they are always around it. It is well that they have no bodies, else they would obscure the light of the sun. We should see them floating around us like shadows. Immediately after the fall, I saw the spirits in the shining circles humbling themselves before God. They did homage to him and implored pardon for the fallen angels. At that moment, I saw a movement in the luminous sphere in which God dwelt. Until then, it had been motionless, as I felt, awaiting that prayer. After that action on the part of the angelic chorus, I felt assured that they would remain steadfast, that they would never fall away. It was made known to me that God, in his judgment, in his eternal sentence against the rebel angels, decreed the reign of strife until their vacant thrones are filled. But to fill those thrones seemed to me almost impossible, for it would take so long. The strife will, however, be upon the earth. There will be no strife above, for God has so ordained. After I had received this assurance, I could no longer sympathize with Lucifer, for I saw that he had cast himself down by his own free wicked will. Neither could I feel such anger against Adam. On the contrary, I felt great sympathy for him, because I thought, it has been thus ordained. Subtext: creation of the earth. Immediately after the prayer of the faithful choirs in that movement in the Godhead, I saw below me, not far from, and to the right of the world of shadows, another dark globe arise. I fixed my eyes steadily upon it. I beheld it, as if in movement, growing larger and larger, as it were bright spots breaking out upon it and encircling it like luminous bands. Here and there they stretched out into brighter, broader plains. And at that moment, I saw the form of the land setting boundaries to the water. In the bright places I saw a movement as of life, and on the land I beheld vegetation springing forth, and myriads of living things arising. Child that I was, I fancied the plants were moving about. Up to this moment, there was only a gray light, like the sunrise, like early morning breaking over the earth, like nature awakening from sleep. And now, all the other parts of the picture faded. The sky became blue, the sun burst forth, but I only saw one part of the earth lighted up and shining. That spot was charming, glorious, and I thought, there is paradise. While these changes were going on upon the dark globe, I saw, as it were, a streaming forth of light out of that highest of all the spheres, the God sphere, that sphere in which God dwelt. It was as if the sun rose higher in the heavens, as if bright morning were awakening. It was the first morning. No created being had any knowledge of it. And it seemed as if all of those created things had been there forever in their unsullied innocence. As the sun rose higher, I saw the plants and trees growing larger and larger. The waters became clearer and holier. The colors grew purer and brighter. All was unspeakably charming. Creation was not then as it is now. Plants and flowers and trees had other forms. They were wild and misshapen now compared with what they were, for all things are now thoroughly degenerate. When looking at the plants and fruits of our gardens, apricots, for instance, which in southern climes are, as I have seen, so different from ours, so large, magnificent, and delicious, I often think, as miserable as our fruits are compared with those of the south, are the latter when compared with the fruits of paradise. I saw their roses, white and red, and I thought them symbols of Christ's passion and our redemption. I also saw palm trees and others high and spreading, which cast their branches afar as if forming roofs. Before the sun appeared, earthly things were puny, but in his beams they gradually increased in size until they attained full growth. The trees did not stand close together of all plants, at least of the largest. I saw only one of each kind, and they stood apart like seedlings set out in a garden bed. Vegetation was luxuriant, perfectly green, of a species pure, sound, and exempt from decay. Nothing appeared to receive or to need the attention of an earthly gardener. I thought, how is it that all is so beautiful, since as yet there are no human beings? Sin has not yet entered. There has been no destruction, no rending asunder. All is sound, all is holy, As yet there has been no healing, no repairing, all is pure. Nothing has needed purification. The plain that I beheld was gently undulating and covered with vegetation. In its center rose a fountain, from all sides which flowed streams crossing one another, mingling their waters. I saw in them first a slight movement as of life, and then I saw living things. After that I saw, here and there among the shrubs and bushes, animals peeping forth as if roused from sleep. They were very different from those of a later day, not at all timorous. Compared with those of our own time, they were almost as far their superior as men are superior to beasts. They were pure and noble, nimble and joyous. Words cannot describe them. I was not familiar with many of them, for I saw very few like those we have now. I saw the elephant, the stag, the camel, and even the unicorn. The last I saw also in the ark. It is remarkably gentle and affectionate, not so tall as a horse, its head more rounded in shape. I saw no asses, no insects, no wretched, loathsome creatures. These last I have always looked upon as a punishment of sin. But I saw myriads of birds and heard the sweetest notes as in the early morning. There were no birds of prey that I could see, nor did I hear any animals bellowing. Paradise is still in existence, but it is utterly impossible for humankind to reach it. I have seen that it still exists in all its splendor. It is high above the earth in an oblique direction from it, like the dark globe of the angels fallen from heaven. So that concludes the reading for today. I only want to make a few notes. One is about what she saw. Now, I imagine as a human, even when we're given visions, and you often hear it in near-death experiences, they describe what they see, but they describe everything like, you don't have the human experience there. It's something that transcends our own nature. Well, what she saw transcends her nature, and she's just describing it with words as best as she can, but words can't really describe what she saw. So this is what we get. And what it is that it's variables that are packaged in a way that we can understand them rather than what actually occurred. So what she saw, the sphere, the radiating circles like the choirs of angels, and then the dark plane, the dark disk rising up, and the other dark globe, which I imagine is like the whole cosmos, and then the earth got amplified in the globe. That's all translated in order to just fit this text as best as it can be fit. One thing of note, the other thing I wanted to note is when you listen to exorcists and they account for what the demons say, they say that when the demons fell from heaven, and this is very consistent with this text, that it was instantaneous. Demons don't lag in their thinking like humans do, neither angels nor demons. I mean, they're the same nature. They don't lag in their thoughts. When they decide something, it is instant. Boom. It's done. When they decided to fall, boom, it was done. There is no deliberating. In our human forms, we deliberate on sin, and then we sin after having contemplated it for a bit. They don't contemplate. They just, everything that happens with them is instantaneous. And exorcists say the very same thing. Father Chad Ripperger related about how they conceptualize. He said if you told them about a dog, in that instant they would know everything there is to know about dogs. Like they instantly conceptualize it. And that's how beings that don't, like, we use flesh and lightning surging through our flesh to process everything. They don't have that. They just use a superior form of life. Now here we also learn that the fallen angels had left many vacancies in heaven, and the angels, the ones left over, were praying for them to be forgiven, but God had another plan, and that was the dark globe rising, that obviously they weren't coming back. They were out permanently because they had fallen by their own will. But they left vacancies, and that's where I believe humans were created, to fill those vacancies. That we have to rise into our place in heaven. And that it follows naturally that when demons torment us, there's always going to be at least one after us. The reason why is because if we're to take one of their places in heaven, that tempter doesn't want us to take it. He doesn't think us worthy. He thinks us beneath him. They're proud. They're all infected by that infinite pride. So the tempter is going to try to prevent us. But on top of the tempter, think of it. If we're about to influence the world and many people who will fill those other vacancies, we're also going to have many other tempters come after us, and we're going to attract a lot more angelic attention so that we may fulfill our mission. So if you feel diabolically tormented, it just means, I believe, that you're on the path and they want you off the path. So keep this in mind. And all of us have to find strength and hope in these things, not fall into despair, not say we can never change. No, we can change. That's why they're attacking us, because they know it more than we do. And they don't want us to believe we can change. They don't want us to hope. They want us to despair. But remember, if things are hard for you, the tempter doesn't want you to get into heaven. Ave Maria.